Galilee. Another hot day. It starts to taper off after today. It's 85 degrees already. I'm running 87. I'm running the AC, and we can expect 104, downgraded from 106. Tomorrow it goes to 103, which is borderline manageable. And Sunday 99, Monday 95, and then it stays in the 90s. It actually drops to the lower 90s at the end of next week. So we got another day today and another day tomorrow, sort of, and then we start getting a little relief. You can't really go outside. I was outside this morning. I get up at 5 and I start working. And now it's, I don't know, about 9:15, something like that. No, it's 9:23. I think my watch needs adjustment. So we, wore me down. The heat. I was out there a little while, and then I had to put Chief in because it was too hot. And then Yafa can stay out there in the heat. It doesn't really do anything to her. And then Chief's older. And then I started getting worn out, so I started drinking mineral water and stuff like that. So it knocks you out. You gotta watch it. And then at night, I like to go outside, but even at 7 o'clock, sometimes it's like 90 degrees, So I only put Chief out for a little while, like, 30, 45 minutes. But it does cool down, so it's not like the daytime when it goes up, it goes down. Anyway, enough on that. Punishment weather, it'll be over soon. Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I was aware of this yesterday, but I don't think I made the case very strong. I was a little bit hesitant about this. It's in Jeremiah 49, the last 5 or 6 verses. We'll go through it in great depth today, complete, deep detail. Lots of scripture references, okay? So I'm going to prove this to you beyond the shadow of a doubt that America will attack Iran. And I can promise you very shortly. And I'll build you the secular case using the intel. And also there was a attack yesterday in a large building. I think it was 4 stories. It got bombed. And the number 2 guy of Hezbollah apparently got killed. And it was released in Arab newspapers what happened, and then it got muffled in the news. But it was a targeted assassination. I understand 14 Hezbollah leaders that were in a big important meeting got killed. And Israel is not taking credit. Israel's saying, oh, who, us, which is what Israel frequently does, okay? And then it got knocked out of the news, but there were things that were happening, like after the explosion, Hezbollah was encircling the building area and not letting the media in or people in. This happened. They're kind of embarrassed to talk about it. There was a war cabinet or security cabinet meeting in the early evening, and then this happened. So I'm quite sure that Israel did it. The chances of America doing this on a 10 scale, 10 being the most likely, I'd say, is a 1. I mean, America wouldn't do this. It's just not something they did. I don't know who else could have done it. And then we're going to talk about the Lebanese resistance force that's being raised up that intends to go after Hezbollah to save their country. And this is often not in the news either, but it's in the, we pick it up here in Israel, social media from Arabs and in Arabic and in Hebrew. India releases a lot of news without caring what they say. So we'll go through that today, and that's very important. And I'm going to show you what happens to Iran. Okay? And it's going to be soon. Real soon. Okay, the Houthis who keep attacking ships. Ships are almost sinking, burning. All right. So I'm going to go into the chat. Now you know what's coming. I'm going to go into the chat and put my posts up. And make sure we got sound and picture because you never know. Yeah, looks like we're good. Sound and picture. We got sound and picture. Please don't post in foreign languages. I don't know what you said. People come in here and they curse us in foreign languages. So I didn't block you or remove the post. Play chess. Yeah, okay. We'll remove that post as irrelevant, okay? This will take a minute or two. We'll wait for people to come in, so that's okay. Okay, I got all my posts up. Being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise and then we'll proceed. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Ah, the air conditioning's starting to work better now. It's nice. Okay, so I already covered the attack in Hezbollah. Now, you need to understand the complexity of this, which you're not going to get from the regular news channels, and you're probably never going to get this from people that don't live in Israel. People that don't live in Israel, that get intel from people that live in Israel, maybe can pick up some of it, but if they don't understand Bible prophecy correctly, you can forget about it. My tomato juice with all my different seasonings in it, including Tabasco. I love it. You're supposed to put, oh boy, it's hot, Lee and Terrence Worcestershire sauce in here, but it's not easy to get it in Israel. I only had a little bottle left with a little bit. My wife got on my case. She says, you know, I need that for my meat, and so I stopped using it. And then I ordered a gallon of the stuff from eBay, which is going to take time to get here. But I figured I got enough that'll last us for years. A gallon of Worcestershire. It was cheap, you know. If there's anybody out there that wants to bail us out of our Worcestershire dilemma, because it may take a month or 8 weeks to get it from eBay, you can get a hold of me, but you'd have to send it by FedEx, DHL, or UPS, so we get here rather rapidly. It'd take about a week. If anybody's interested in a donation, maybe 2 bottles of the stuff, until we get our long-term supply, it would be appreciated. The stores here occasionally carry it, and then they're out of it for weeks and months. You know, Okie So, in Lebanon, there is a resistance. It's not rising, it's beyond rising. It has arisen. These are Druze and Christians. When we say Christians, we include Catholics. That's the terminology of the Lebanese media, And we include Catholics, evangelicals, Pentecostals, and all of that, okay? And Druze. And they do not want to see, first of all, they could care less about Hezbollah. They're not into the Quran, they're not into all this stuff, they don't like Iran, they don't want any of this stuff. Get lost, go to Iran and, go fight for them, get out of here. They're sick and tired of it. The people in Lebanon cannot live anywhere near the border anymore. It's too dangerous. Tens of thousands, it could be as much as 100,000 or more have evacuated, similar to our border. Reap what you sow. And they had it. And they know that now Israel is extremely close to a full-scale invasion of Lebanon, which we might, if we did this, we might take out their entire electrical grid, their internet grid, their cell phone grid. This would stop the communications of Hezbollah amongst themselves. Now, the leaders will have satellite phones, which won't be that much affected at all, actually. But they don't have that many. Maybe they got 50, 100 satellite phones. It's not enough. Okay. We did this in Gaza and it was successful. Okay. Nobody is sitting there screaming in any of the nations in the world, Lebanon, stop. Nobody. Oh, Biden's saying, we want to restore peace in the Middle East, but that's not specific. Lebanon's sort of a wild card because it has a legitimate government that's weak and cowardly and afraid to stand up against Hezbollah. And they've been, belly aching about that, and nobody's come to their aid. Why has nobody come to their aid? Because, tangled here, because Hezbollah, I gotta figure out where I'm messed up. Okay, got it. Because Hezbollah is part of Satan's chosen people. They want to kill Israel and the Jews. And they don't, and the leaders of the Lebanese government are of course satanic like every other country, so they don't really want to stand up against them. Could they win if they did? I don't know. It would be a mess in Lebanon, probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people would be dead. Billions of dollars worth of property would be destroyed. Life would be miserable. Okay? So, this resistance is formed. Then they say they number 20,000. It's probably accurate. And they say they want to attack, like boom, boom, Hezbollah. They don't want Hezbollah provoking a full-out war in Lebanon because Iran wants it to happen, and that's the truth. They see it clearly. So what they want to do is attack Hezbollah. Now Hezbollah is likely at around 50,000. Very recently, Iraq, I think the last 24 hours, Iraq said they want to send, I believe the number was 20,000 of their militias, Muslim terrorist radicals, to Lebanon to help them in case Israel invades. Now this is, in the eyes of the Lebanese government, the Lebanese military, the Lebanese people that are not Muslim, which is a substantial portion, this is a horrible thing because it's going to cause Israel to start bombing all over Lebanon. Now, the scriptures for Lebanon are rather clear. It gets damaged, but it doesn't get destroyed. One scripture prophetically towards Lebanon says, Lebanon, open your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. I could stretch and say this is already happening because while we're getting a lot of fire in Israel, because everything's dry and parched now from all the missile fire, and also the takedown iron domes can cause fires, um, that they that you could say this has happened in whole or in part, I don't know. But we use the various trees, the fir trees and cedar trees, to decorate the next temple, which God sends down to us. And it's not New Jerusalem, I've covered that. You've got to read Ezekiel 37, the last 3 verses, very carefully. Very carefully to pick it up. Okay, God places the next temple here. We don't build it. Okay? And then the heathen know that God has sanctified Israel by the sign of that temple. So it's obviously not going to look like something a bunch of rabbis put together with some John Deere equipment, okay? And it's not going to be New Jerusalem, nowhere near the size of the scope. It's going to be a size of a temple, not 1,500 miles by 1,500 miles and 1,500 miles high with see-through gold streets and gates named 12 gates, each one named after one of the 12 tribes of Israel, guarded by an angel. So one thing you need to start asking yourself, because it says that in Revelation 21, there's no Baptist gate, okay, no Presbyterian, no Pentecostal, no Evangelical, no Catholic gate, no whatever gate. So what gate are you going to go through? See, these are the people that are being deceived by the devil, and they're saying, oh, they're saved, they're in Yeshua, but they're not in Israel. They stand next to Israel. There's no such thing. All Israel shall be saved. If you're a believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, you're in Israel. He's the king of Israel, a high priest after the order of Melchizedek, and these people say they're in the church. That's to build Satan's crazy rapture theory with the left behind raptures. John 6, 39, 40, 44, and 54, 4 times, Yeshua says he's going to raise them all up at the last day. And the last day means there's no more days. It's after the millennium is over, after Satan's released, gathers them like the sand of the sea around Jerusalem and New Jerusalem. Father God Jehovah comes down and burns the whole universe up. There's no place to stand, so we meet them in the air coming down from heaven, and we go up on the clouds of heaven. That's when your rapture is, okay? And that's been deceived and concealed from the church since there was a church. And a good question is, since the church started about 350 years by a political entity called Constantine, a guy, and it was a very bad church, the Catholic Church and so forth. But in the 350 years, there was no church. The church has no explanation for that. And they can't explain Yeshua says, now is the day you could work, soon it'll be the night, and no man could work, which is the 2,000-year punishment in Hosea 6, 1 and 2 on Israel. And they don't understand that, nor do they teach it. And I'm not here to harp about that. I did my harping, I guess. Okay, so I believe in light of this resistance, which I am most certain America, France, the UK minimally, and Israel are back. How can they back this resistance? One way is reconnaissance intel and communication interceptions and de-encrypting them. So basically spy on Hezbollah and give the information to them. Now, when you hide under a bridge overpass or in dense trees or in a cave, an underground tunnel or underground bunker or inside a civilian structure like a mall or a hospital, the drones and the reconnaissance aircraft don't pick that up. But with 20,000 resistance fighters in Lebanon, they pick it up. They are Lebanese, they're fluent, they look like what They look like it, they walk like it, they talk like it, they are like it. Okay? What they can give us intel that we can't get. And then we could do airstrikes and artillery strikes and mortar strikes to take out Hezbollah. Now, if they go walking around the bramble bushes and the wooded areas in Lebanon, well, then Hezbollah would say, what the heck are you doing here? You know. Now, let's take a look at how much of Lebanon is actually Muslim. I used to know that. It's not that much, but let me pull it up. It's more than half, actually. It's 55.3%. 25% are Sunni, which typically are not interested in going out and killing Israel and getting martyred, okay? And then 25% are Shia, which are the ones that believe in that. And there's a little bit of Alawites, like from Syria. A lot of this is from refugees from Syria. Let me get a breakdown of the rest, if I can find it. Wikipedia has some numbers. Let's see. I'm looking for like a chart, so I don't want to go read other articles. No, it's just a long dialogue. Demographics, there we go. Let's see if I got a chart. No, let me try a different search. Uh, 33% of the population of Lebanon is considered Christian. Let's see if I could get some more of this, but a lot of that is Catholic. Someone else says 19.4%. I think that's pretty low. So a lot of these Muslims in there are Syrian refugees that ran away from that idiot Bashar Assad with his civil war and persecuting them and stuff like that. Okay. Now, the resistance, the 20,000 are saying that half of the Lebanese army is with them. There's not a lot of Muslims in the Lebanese army, I would think. They join Hezbollah instead. Hezbollah gets their payroll from Iran, who sells oil to get a lot of money. So Hezbollah's salaries probably exceed what the Lebanese army is paying. The resistance, if they need salaries, they'll probably get it from Israel. France is heavily vested in Lebanon. They'll support the resistance. And they'll also get it from the UK, probably. I think the big players in supporting this are going to be the UK, America, France, and Israel. And that's enough. Hezbollah has no navy, they don't have any armor, they don't have an air force. They got a bunch of missiles. And they're crazy. And they dance to the music that Iran plays. So they are a puppet or a satellite of Iran. That's all they are. And the Lebanese people have a terrible economy. And they're sick and tired of this. Especially since now it appears that Israel's got no choice but to do a ground invasion. They're attacking Israel up to 200 rockets a day. Now, Netanyahu doesn't care that much about Israel taking rockets, as evidenced by his actions. He cares way more about his own political position. If he loses a vote of no confidence and gets kicked out of office, his 3 criminal cases, the trial's already started, but they're kind of frozen. Because Netanyahu says, well, how could I defend myself? I got 2 wars to fight, His trials proceed and he goes to jail. So he's way more worried about that than how much damage gets done to Israel. He's a piece of garbage, okay? I use the word he very loosely. So, Israel is taking rockets in large amounts at the military bases and by the border. And now Netanyahu's beginning to wake up and realize that the situation's become unmanageable. So they had a meeting last night. And they probably decided what they're going to do. And Biden, I'm sure, was telling him, don't escalate, Iran will get involved. I'm going to take a fast break and we'll continue this. I'll be right back. So basically, Iran is keeping the fire burning with Lebanon attacking Israel and keeping the Middle East in disarray. But that's not all they're doing. Okay. So I think that Netanyahu is well aware of this resistance in Lebanon, and that's putting it mildly. And they're seeing this as a potential solution for the problem. If the people of Lebanon rise up against the Houthis, which are not an official government, and Iran tries to intervene, or militias from Iraq try to intervene, Lebanon can go to the UN Security Council and scream, "We're being invaded." Now, I doubt anything will happen because the UN is heavily anti-Israel and pro-Iran. So it'll get vetoed by China, Russia, and I think Algeria is on the Security Council and so forth. So they're not going to do anything. Israel is probably waiting to destroy Lebanon to see if this resistance can actually turn the tide, and I believe it will. The Bible doesn't tell us anything about a resistance, but it does tell us that Lebanon gets hit, but it doesn't get devastated. Okay? And remember, a lot of these Hezbollah are Syrian refugees that have become terrorists or war terrorists. And they're not really Lebanese people that were, third, fourth, fifth generation Lebanese. Okay? So we got to remember that. So that's one problem Iran is creating for America. It's stopping the ceasefire from being approved, and Biden was bold enough to take it to the UN Security Council and got it approved, and Hamas is playing with America. Oh, we welcome it, and then, oh, we got some modifications, and then Blinken says some of the modifications are possible and some of them are impossible. So Israel's not going to just lay down and say, okay, we're moving out of Gaza. Hamas can take over again, shoot missiles at us again, smuggle weapons in from Egypt again, and run the government and kill us again, and all of that stuff, right? So he can't persuade Israel to do that, and if he attacks Israel openly and blatantly, it's going to obviously cause an uproar in America and around the world. So Biden is, you can't sit there and attack for decades. You say Israel's our best ally, Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, the only free country, blah, 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 and then go around and try to attack it. So Biden's got a problem, but Biden's big problem is the Houthis in Yemen. They just attacked 2 more ships. They apparently got missiles from Russia or Iran that are effective. They could be hypersonic. And they did attack the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier. I've covered that many times. And it was a successful attack to some extent. There were videos circulating of a big 25, 30-foot hole in the deck of the boat. And then the boat moved away a few hundred kilometers to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and went into the port, which it never did before. It's most unusual. And then an Italian aircraft carrier group with destroyers and missile cruisers and stuff came down there and escorted the Dwight D. Eisenhower out of there. Now, there was an American destroyer with the Dwight D. Eisenhower, and we don't know what that happened to that. Now, the early reports before they blotted this out of the news was that 16 sailors were dead and 34 were injured. And then everything disappeared from the news. But They lie, and by looking at the actions, it appears rather obvious to me that the Dwight D. Eisenhower was severely damaged and it never would have behaved the way they behaved. And it probably was not able to defend itself. So the Italian aircraft carrier was probably someplace in the Mediterranean and it got sent down there to escort him out of there, because with a 25, 30-foot hole in the deck, you can't launch and, take back aircraft, which is a big defense mechanism of an aircraft carrier. They keep a lot of fighter jets in the air around them, and they won't let anything get near it, But without being able to launch and capture jets, it's defenseless. So the Italian aircraft carrier came to get it out of there, and they probably thought that the Houthis would not attack the Italian aircraft carrier, and they were right. There were pictures of the destroyer with the Dwight D. Eisenhower, and they were saying that it was, the picture showed it on fire, big flames. So I do not know what happened to that destroyer after that. It may have sank. America's not going to reveal these things, okay? They're going to cover it up as long as possible. It'll leak out sooner or later. So there's a problem. And America's got a big problem, because if the Houthis have shot at missiles in the Mediterranean, the Sea of Aden, and other places, and they're talking about expanding their actions into the Mediterranean and into the Indian Ocean. That means they'll go all the way under Saudi Arabia and Oman and stuff like that. And they've been attacking ships from many nations. And some of them are sinking, some of them are severely damaged, and stuff like this. They take the crews in, the boat crew, which is usually on a big ship, I don't know, it could be 15 to 30, it's not a lot of people. They take them in, and I don't know if they release them or keep them, we don't know. They're probably holding a lot of them. They've arrested, this week, they've arrested 25 or so people that were diplomats and UN employees for spying for the enemy, whoever the enemy is, America or Israel, I don't know. They got a lot of enemies. This is, UN personnel are not supposed to be arrested, neither are diplomats from other countries, but they did it. So they broke international protocol, and how they're going to get these people back, I don't know. They may hang them. Okay? If they leave the Houthis alone, they will control completely the Red Sea. The maritime shipping people are saying that 50% of the traffic that normally would go through the Red Sea is now going around the bottom of Africa, which adds, it's not 2 weeks, it adds about 7 days to the journey. That's it. And it adds the cost, because the cargo can't be delivered, so they can't cash their letter of credit till it's delivered. They don't get paid. The ship's tied up for an extra week, and they got to pay the payroll for an extra week, and the fuel and everything else. So it drives prices up. And I would say probably by today, it's not half the ships that are going around to South Africa. I would guess it's probably 80 to 90% of the ships, because they knocked off at least 5 or 6 ships this week. And if you go through the Red Sea, your insurance is going to be huge. the shipping companies need to insure the boat itself. Then the cargo needs to be insured. And then you have to, with the boat, you're also insuring the crew. Um, and I'm sure the insurance companies probably doubled or quadrupled the rates to go through the Red Sea. So they stop and they scratch their head and say, heck, let's just go around Africa. We don't have to pay the high insurance, you know. Got it? So life is becoming difficult for a lot of people. If this is overlooked, and it will continue, they will expand, and then Iran will say, oh, they're all afraid of us. I'll shut the Red Sea down now, like the Houthis did. And that'll also be the Sea of Oman, and they'll curtail oil shipments. And that will spike oil prices and break the back of basically everybody. North America, South America, Africa, Europe, you know. Except, you know, like China will get sweetheart deals from Iran. Russia got their own oil and gas. You know, this type of thing. And the friends of, you know, Russia and Iran will continue to get gas and nobody else will. So Kuwait will be in trouble, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, you know. So it's not only going to turn the Middle East upside down, it's going to turn the world inside out and upside down. You know, they could easily double, if not triple or quadruple gas prices. And that means people can't afford to go to work. And the cost of shipping goods is extremely prohibitive, and airfares will soar, you know. You know, like, what do I mean? A flight from New York to Miami might be $1,800 round trip instead of a few hundred, you know? That kind of thing. And that will spike gold and silver prices beyond belief. You won't believe how high they'll go if this happens. So, America is got a problem. Trying to maintain its posture as the hammer of the whole earth. Now it gets worse. The BRICS people have decided to buy and sell without using the US dollar. That reduces the demand for the US dollar and it reduces the value of the US dollar. Let's take a look at how the US dollar is faring against other big currencies. Just check a few like the euro and things like that. So we go to US dollar, let's go, might be a shekel. US dollar is holding against the shekel reasonably well. Let's run it against the euro. Yeah, it dropped a penny. A euro's worth $1.07. Usually it's worth $1.08 in recent days. So it's a drop, but it's not, you know, big deal. The British pound, $1.27. It's down a couple of pennies. It's nothing big. Canadian dollar. $0.72. It's again down a few pennies, I think. The Aussie dollar, 66. That's about normal. Let's try the Swiss franc, which is usually slightly over par with the dollar. Where did the Swiss franc go? There it is. $1.11. Yeah, it dropped a little bit against the Swiss franc, but you know, pennies we're talking. We're not talking significant, you know, drops here. That's not the case. So you know, the trading of the dollar is on exchanges and that's rigged and everything. So America can keep the dollar up for a while anyway. Maybe not forever, but for a while. They're going to do something about it. The Saudis on June 9th, their security agreement with the United States expired. They did not sign another one. And their petro agreement with the United States to sell oil in dollars is finished. They're now selling oil in currencies other than dollars. Are they taking euros? This I don't know. Probably, but maybe not. So the Saudis are so scared, they're siding with Russia and Iran and, of course, China. They don't think America is a reliable ally that will really come and defend them. So the Houthis are a problem. So the Pentagon, you know, the people in the Pentagon that are majors and colonels are usually not all Satan bots. There's some of them are very bright people that the nincompoop Satan bot stuffed shirts use, and they take the credit for it. They, I'm sure, realize that you've got to cut the head off the snake. You can't just say, we'll attack the Houthis, okay? First of all, attacking the Houthis is a huge undertaking because they've got tunnels and underground bunkers. The Lebanese army, the Yemen army is sided with them. They got 67,000. And we're told that members of the Iraqi and Syrian militias have relocated down to Yemen to protect Yemen in the event America and the UK do a full attack on them. Okay. So their strength is probably at least 400,000 or 500,000 right now. That means America and Great Britain and I don't know who else would join in are probably going to have to come up with a minimum of 150 to 250,000 soldiers, hundreds of planes, hundreds of tanks, hundreds of mobile artillery, and probably 30 to 50 warships for transport and aircraft carriers for bombing and stuff. And now they realize that the Houthis can take out their warships. So they're sitting there and they're talking to themselves and they're saying, what is the point of attacking the Houthis? Iran is still going to keep functioning. They're going to have their militias in Iraq and Syria attack our embassies, consulates, and military bases in Iraq and Syria, and we're going to suffer losses. They'll probably overrun the bases. We'll have dead soldiers. The Houthis will probably shoot. Well, if Saudi Arabia is in their court, they won't. They won't shoot at the oil refinery, and they'll bog themselves down. It'll probably take them 6 or 8 weeks to neutralize the Houthis to the level where they can't attack the ships anymore. And they'll take losses, they'll spend billions of dollars, and they haven't fixed the problem. Where if they shut down Iran, the Houthi problem goes away. No more weapons from Iran, no more money from Iran, and you know, the Houthis will dry up on their own. Okay? So it appears that the most logical choice now is for America and her allies to attack Iran. That shuts down Gaza, that shuts down Lebanon, that shuts down the 100 or so attacks on the American military bases in Iraq and Syria, plus the consulate and the embassy. It shuts down the risk of danger to the Persian Gulf being closed by Iran. It shuts down the danger of Iran taking over Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and all of that, slowly but gradually. And it removes Iran from being any type of an ally to Russia or China. Will Russia come to the aid of Iran? I do not think they can do much of anything except tokenism show of help. That's it. What they might try to do is send 3 or 4 warships into the Persian Gulf to protect Iran with missiles that can shoot down aircraft and stuff like that, and attack boats coming to attack Iran and land troops, stuff like that. And the thought process with Russia would be that if we do this, America will be deterred and will not come and attack Iran. Well, it's not likely that Russia's going to push this hard because they've got their own problems with NATO and Ukraine, and I don't think they can. They may try to make some sort of a bluffing effort, but that's all it would be. Nothing serious. I'll be right back. The analogy here would be what Russia just did in Florida by Cuba. They sent a nuclear submarine that could launch missiles with one wartime frigate, which is a warship, probably capable of launching missiles. I don't know. I'm assuming it is. I'm pretty sure it is. And, you know, if Russia was going to do a serious attack by sea against the United States, it would be at least, 30 or 40 ships, 6 or 10 submarines, and they would try to relocate hundreds of aircraft into the area. Nothing like this. It's just a harassment. A warning shot across the bow to America to show America what they could do. And it's not real. But what is real is Putin giving weapons to countries like Cuba, like Mexico, and Venezuela, but mostly Mexico and Cuba, which are very close to the United States. I mean, Mexico is up against the United States, So that he'll do. And he might give weapons to North Korea. And he might start giving them to the likes of Lebanon and other countries like that, okay? We don't know. I do believe he'll go through with that threat. And they're saying, well, whatever they want to do with the weapons is up to them. We just give them weapons. We don't tell them go attack America. If they attack America, it's between them and America. That's going to bother America, but it's not going to make them stop the war in Europe against Russia. Okay. So, if America attacks Iran, nobody's going to come to the aid of Iran. Okay? The chances are quite high that such an attack would have warning, maybe. There's different scenarios America could use. The standard scenario, I don't think is going to be applied because of what happened to that destroyer in the Dwight D. Eisenhower. And that would be move 3, 4, or 5 aircraft carriers into the theater around the Persian Gulf, put them in the Mediterranean, Sea of Oman, and all that, and launch the planes to attack Iran, stealth F-35s. And they would also have other aircraft in probably Jordan, maybe Bahrain, maybe Kuwait, I don't know. Okay? And there would be at least 300 to 400 or 500 aircraft plus the aircraft carriers. Now, will America invade Iran with boots on the ground? I doubt it. I'm going to give you the scriptures for this in a little while. Don't worry, I've researched it carefully. No, I don't think they're going to. They're afraid. They got too many problems in Europe. They got too many problems with Taiwan, North Korea, China, Japan, and all of that. Philippines, Guam. I don't think they're going to bring the fleet in. So all they got to do is attack from the air with a lot of aircraft. Iran's air defenses are basically junk. Israel proved that a few weeks ago when they took out 2 of their bases and 5, they took the radar out of 5 nuclear facilities of Iran. Now recently, Iran just announced, I'd say in the last 2 days, that they've increased their nuclear capabilities, which is irritating the world because they're not supposed to do that, and they're doing it, and they're announcing it, and this is the perfect alibi trigger for Biden to move against Iran and attack their nuclear facilities, which Israel disarmed by taking out their radar. And it would probably take them some more months to get the radar back online. This is big ground-based radar, not little things. You put on a ship or a truck with a missile launcher. This is serious radar. That would give them long-range warning, accurate radar, but the stealth aircraft can defeat it. So, it's child's play for America to hit Iran. So they could launch massive aircraft attacks on Iran anytime. They're not going to bring the fleet up to the Persian Gulf because whatever missiles the Houthis use, it's a safe assumption Iran has them. Iran probably built them for the Houthis. So they're going to lose ships, and they don't want to lose ships. When they don't have to, they can just do it by air with refueling tanker planes and so forth. Will Israel join in such an attack? I doubt they would want Israel there. So the UK and America would be the main ones, but the scripture says Iran gets attacked by her enemies, plural. The implication is probably not just the UK and the US, it's probably NATO in general. Iran, by supporting the Houthis the way they did and the Houthis' activity, I would say has at least 20 or 30 nations in the world furious at Iran because they're promoting the Houthis. Okay, the story of, well, the Houthis did it, we didn't do it, and that's worn thin. The nations are not in the mood to hear that anymore, okay? That's a loser's game if they start listening to Iran sing that song. They're not listening to that music anymore. So if you take out Iran, then you don't have to take out the Houthis. Or if the Houthis decide they're going to help Iran, and start going crazy with attacking ships, you just detour the ships down around the bottom of Africa during the fracas of attacking Iran. That's it. And then you could dedicate, 10 or 25 jets to bombing different targets in Yemen to keep them all in confusion, and they probably would do that. It would be a simple maneuver. They would send various stealth jets to Iran, and they would take out more Iranian radar, open up corridors where planes could fly in and attack facilities in Iran. Their first target would probably be the nuclear facilities because of that alibi that they're working for the good of the world, because if Iran has the bomb, nobody's safe, blah, 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 blah. They play the violin. If Iran sucked it up and said, okay, we'll leave everybody alone, which is never going to happen, that would be the end of it. But Iran is not going to suck it up. Iran is going to try to retaliate. Iran could not get in their ships and planes and go attack America. This is completely off the table. There's no chance of that happening. Okay, it's not 10%, it's like 100th of 1%. It's just never going to happen. Okay? And America knows that. Iran will probably, for the heck of it, try to get the Hezbollah in Lebanon to attack Israel voraciously, and the Houthis, however they could attack Israel, to attack us voraciously, which could mean they get permission from Saudi Arabia to move massive amounts of their terrorist soldiers up to Israel. And could be. Israel's going to be laid siege to all around, and that could be an all around. Although there's not a direct border with Saudi Arabia, it's extremely close. Egypt may join in as well. See, while Egypt acts like they're a friend of America and Israel, they hate them. Egypt's dedicated Muslim state, and they want to eradicate Israel. Israel's just something they don't want anymore. Okay? And America is not somebody Egypt likes. Okay? Remember, if Jordan breaks from Israel, they're going to suck wind for water. They get a lot of their water from Israel. And that's not good for them. So the war would be a series of bombings in Iran. I don't think it would be a ground invasion so quick. And they would keep hitting different targets. They wouldn't hit civilian targets so quick. They would do things like take out Iranian warships, take out their radar, military bases, military airports, maybe other airports, because the military would quickly commandeer the other airports. Their weapons factories, weapons storage facilities, things of that nature. Now, I don't know how Iran could hold up against that. They have no way. Iran has been playing the game according to Middle East rules, which I'm afraid to say Israel does also. America has no cognition or understanding of these military, of the mindset of the Middle East Muslim countries. So by letting themselves get pushed around by the bases being attacked in Iraq and Syria, the Houthis attacking, Hamas rejecting the peace plan that the UN approved, and Lebanon making trouble with Israel now rather heavily, is interpreted by Iran as weakness on the part of America. Now, I'm sure Netanyahu has told America at least 100 times that the only thing these people understand is not a show of force, but actually blowing them up. That they respond to positively, nothing else. So America is probably in the mode now where they realize that they can no longer just do a show of force on Iran. Iran are criminally insane, the leaders, and they got to actually attack them. Okay? See, Iran being a bully, you can push people around time in and time out. But what they don't understand is there's a time where you're going to push America around, and America is going to say, we had enough. And you still keep it up and you don't stop, and then come the planes, the B-1s, the B-2s, the F-22s, the F-35s, different missiles, and doom and gloom falls on Iran. America is not especially concerned if Iran and her satellite countries attack Israel. They're not pro-Israel. So this has no deterrent value against America, believe me. They don't care. Okay? It's the same, oh, if you attack us, we'll have the Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas attack Israel. Once America starts attacking, it started attacking. It's not interested in that kind of a dialogue threat. It's not going to pay attention to it. Biden has to win it, and it looks like he could win against Iran. I would say the odds are greatly in his favor, and based on Bible prophecy, he wins. They don't have much of a downside. Politically, they're going to twist and turn this to make it look like they're saving the world from Iran getting a nuclear bomb or something to that effect. And also the trouble they're causing in the Middle East with the Houthis and with the Hezbollah and with Hamas and the militias in Iraq and Syria. So I would say America is extremely close to attacking Iran. Now, if the Houthis are going to do something bad to Israel, there's going to be some warning to it. It's going to have a time frame. It's not going to be immediately. The Lebanese, the Hezbollah can just later today decide they want to try to launch 1,000 missiles a day at Israel and begin such attacks without much warning. So along comes the 20,000 resistance in Lebanon to go up against Hezbollah from within Lebanon, and Israel going against it from outside Lebanon. Okay. And this can diminish the effects or diminish the attack capability that Hezbollah can deliver against Israel drastically, which leaves Iran more vulnerable. And all these pieces are coming together. So I do not think it's going to be much time till they hit Iran. Days, weeks, very quickly. Hamas made a monkey out of Biden with saying they like the... Hey, what are you doing there? Knock it off. The dogs. What are they... You know, they made a monkey out of Biden and he doesn't like it. And they listen to Iran. So the Pentagon knows that Iran tells Hamas to jump. Hamas says how high. They have no doubts about that. Okay? So now comes the time for Iran to get it. And it's in the Bible. And I'm going to come back and do that with you. And you'll see it plain as day. What are you guys doing here making all that noise? What are you digging? What are you doing? Actually, I believe the Lord showed me that it's not going to be based on the nuclear stuff. It's going to be based on Iran threatening Israel if Israel invades Lebanon, which doesn't necessarily mean that we have to invade Lebanon. Big missile, rocket, air attack would be the same thing. And Iran's latest threats are they're going to send boots on the ground to Iran. To Lebanon if this happens. And Biden is telling Israel, cool it with Lebanon because Iran says they're going to go get into the war. I think this is going to be the trigger. Biden will be able to say, oh, you know, we had to protect Israel, and they're going down there to attack Israel, blah, blah, blah. Now, you need to listen to this again hard. Iraq said they're going to send militia to Lebanon to help them. I think the figure was 20,000. If Lebanon does if the resistance actually does work against Hezbollah, Iraq will probably do this for that reason alone. And Lebanon will scream we're being invaded by Iran and Iraqi militias. So the way this would play is Iran is not only supporting Lebanon to attack Israel with weapons and money, but now there are other proxies in Iraq. The militias are coming to help Lebanon, and they're invading Lebanon, and the Lebanese government and the resistance want these people out. So we have to help Lebanon and help Israel. Or he might play it as just help Lebanon. Now France will get into it because they have a big vested interest in Lebanon. They don't want to see Lebanon turn into Gaza. French can fight. Macron's a moron. But they have the French Foreign Legion, which are tough fighters. They have the French military, which can fight. They got good aircraft, aircraft carriers, helicopters, missiles, anti-missile missiles. They got everything. Okay? The UK and America will definitely be in on it. Okay? Iran doesn't have a chance. Okay? Not a chance. China, North Korea, and Russia ain't coming. The Houthis, the Hezbollah, the Hamas, what are they going to do? They can't help Iran. Nobody's going to help Iran. And America knows that. Okay? They got Putin off guard in the Baltic Sea, and Putin ain't doing nothing. Putin's scared. He can't. What's he gonna do? Putin just attacked an air base in Ukraine and attacked one of the advanced fighter jets. Not an American jet. I think it was an SU something, SU-57 or something. They got their hands on a Russian jet. So, I'm checking the chat. So I don't think we're going to see Putin do much of anything except, some deterrent value and tokenism, and that's about it. I'm in America, sure I am. Yeah. Someone says it's the other way around. Well, no support for it, just makes a comment. It's worthless, Person who is direct say, in my opinion, it's the other way around without supporting any evidence like I'm doing. Okay. Let's do the Bible. We're going to go into Jeremiah 49, verse 37. No, wait a minute. I think we've got to go to 34. Sorry. Yes. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, okay, the prophecy came, or the word of the Lord, what they call the word is the bear. The speaking is what it means. The speaking of Jehovah. Okay, you could say the word. He got this message or this prophecy in the reign of Zedekiah. It doesn't mean it was going to be fulfilled back then. He got messages, in other times for today. That doesn't mean that. Elam is Iraq, Iran, and Kurdistan. That's Elam. I emphasized Iraq said they're sending 20,000 terrorist soldiers to help Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? Iraq is in Elam. The American bases and the embassy, consulate, whichever it was in Iraq, has been attacked repeatedly by these Iran-backed militia groups. Many, many, many times. Iraq keeps telling America to get out, and America doesn't get out. Okay, Kurdistan is the Kurds, and they're up in northeast Syria, according to Turkey, who keeps attacking them. They're also in Turkey. Let's get a map of Kurdistan going here. Biblical Kurdistan, of course. Oh no, Kurdistan's a new name. Let's just get a map of Kurdistan, that's all. It'll work. The resolution on this map stinks. Let me look for a better map. A lot of these maps in Google are the size of a large postage stamp, and then when you try to expand them, the resolution dies off. It just blurs out. Well, the Kurds, this is where the Kurds are. They're in northern Iraq between Syria and Iran. They're in eastern Turkey near Iran and in northeast Syria. So we might see Turkey in this too. Although Turkey is not Elam, so I'm not so sure we're going to see a lot of that, okay? But we might. So the contenders are northeastern Syria and North Syria, northern Iraq, Iran, and Turkey possibly. They're conducting, Turkey is conducting holocausts against the Kurds for some years now. Okay, that brings us to verse 35, Jeremiah 49. Thus saith Jehovah of armies, behold, I will break the bow of the chief of their might. This is speaking to Elam. The chief of their might. Probably the Mullah in Iran, the Iranians, I'm thinking. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them towards all those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. So he's saying they're going to be scattered into every nation. Okay? For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies. No, I don't trust the translation. Let's see what dismayed really means. Well, Strong uses this English word properly to prostrate, to break down. In other words, bust them down to the floor. It's a violent type of term, I think. Dismayed before their enemies, plural. Let's check the word for enemies. Oyev. Yeah, enemies, adversaries, plural though. And before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. Now, it doesn't sound like there's a ground invasion because they get scattered to all the nations, which means they run out of the borders to other countries. Now, if they were going to do ground invasion, they would surround it and close the borders and come in, so that wouldn't be very feasible. But if they were going to do an air attack and an attack by Navy ships, then it would make sense. Okay? Now, they might possibly use the aircraft to take out the Navy ships that Iran has, which is mostly junk, go-fast boats, and, a handful of serious naval vessels. They can take them out with the stealth jets, child's play, or the submarines. It's child's play for America, really. Nothing to it. Nothing to it. Okay. And that eliminates the threat of them firing some kind of hypersonic ballistic missiles at American Navy vessels. And they could take out every radar they see. The radars that are used to seriously launch missiles are, ground-based radars. They're huge things. A big dish, maybe 90, 150 feet, using massive amounts of electricity. It's a big thing. And that gives them a range. Now, if they're going to use, missiles on trucks that have a radar unit with the truck, that's a rather short range radar unit, and probably not that threatening to the Americans. Okay, so the planes would make Iran turn their radar on with missile attacks from the planes and so forth. Iran switches their radar on, then they use anti-radar missiles that track the radar beam above the radar rope. And then they open up corridors where they could fly freely into Iran and hit other targets, like strategic bases, storage facilities, warehouses, and so forth. Now, I think America would use their bunker buster bombs to break open the underground airplane hangars that Iran has and bust up their underground facilities. Now, America has up to 25,000-pound bunker buster bombs. I don't think anyone else has that. But the 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs are America has a pretty good supply of those. And, if you keep, pounding the same underground facility, even though it's 300 feet underground, with, a good, 5 or 10 of these 5,000-pound bombs, the concrete is going to lose its structural integrity and start collapsing and things like that. It's just a question of time. And these bombs burrow down in the earth and then explode. Now, 300 feet down is a real problem, but I'm pretty sure America will go after those facilities too. Now, they might collapse them, they may make them unstable. I don't know. They may collapse the entrances and exits. Those might be easily discerned. And you just you drop a bunch of 2,000-pound bunker busters over there, and then you can't get out or you can't get in, which has the same net effect, What I'm talking about is a concerted amount of air attacks taking place probably for 10 days, but they just have to be careful of missile launchers near the Persian Gulf, and they could obliterate that risk, I think, rather easily, and then they could bring naval vessels in up there and establish a beachhead. I don't know if they want to do that, but they could. And then when they establish a beachhead, they put 3,000 to 5,000 soldiers there, heavily protected by Navy ships and aircraft, and then start bringing in tanks, armored personnel carriers, mobile artillery, rocket launchers, food, medical, uniforms, equipment, communications, everything. And then start bringing more and more soldiers in, and eventually get 15, 25,000 soldiers, and start holding several beachheads on the Persian Gulf, and keeping people away from attacking their ships. And anytime they turn on radar, the radar will get hit from the aircraft and the helicopters and the artillery and everything else. So, can Iran launch anti-ship missiles from deep inside Iran, like 300 or 400 miles, and go after the ships? Well, let's look at the range of anti-ship missiles. You can look that up. If America starts to do a land invasion, that would cause many of the Iranians to hit the road and get out of town. Okay. No, this is meaningless. I'll find something that tells us how far they can go. And they're not giving it to me. Let me keep looking. See, an anti-ship missile is a complicated missile because you're hitting a moving target. Air-to-ground missiles are hitting a stationary target usually, and surface-to-surface is hitting a stationary target. Air-to-air missiles are hitting moving targets from a moving target. Sophisticated anti-ship missiles are going from a moving naval vessel to attacking another moving naval vessel. So this is got a level of sophistication uh, different than a regular missile. They say the range of this is 360 kilometers, which is about 200 miles. Typically, the effectiveness of the missile diminishes the greater the range, and the accuracy diminishes. So, if it's got a 200-mile range, and America controls pieces of the Persian Gulf 25 miles inland, they got to keep their ships somewhat further away from Iran, which they normally would do. So I would say if they keep their ships, they would normally be at least 100 miles away. 200 is, they keep themselves 200 miles away from Iran's coast, they're safe. So they could operate there. 200-mile trip for a fighter jet at non-supersonic speeds, just going, let's say, 600 miles an hour, means it's about 20-minute flight time. But if it goes at 1200, it's 10 minutes. It's just a few minutes. It's nothing. The warships would like to, well, especially an aircraft carrier, would like to stay away from, threats within 200 miles because the flight time of the missile is very brief, and they may not get a good lock on it and so forth. Now, these missiles seem to be effective against America's defenses. Maybe they have an upgraded missile they could use, or better radar, or I don't know what they're up to. Maybe Israel's helping them with this. I don't know. More missiles from Hezbollah every day, off and on all day. To go in and invade Iran seriously and conquer the whole place would be months. They would need in the region of 500,000 to 1,000,000 soldiers. They'd probably need 1,000 tanks, 1,000 aircraft, and they'd probably have 80 or 90 warships in the Persian Gulf. And I don't think there's enough prophetic time for it. You don't know. They might try it. They may start such an invasion. Russia and China would be very happy to see America mobilize a massive army with NATO against Iran. It would make them extremely happy because they could attack America much easier that way. And Biden might do that. But he's definitely going to start with air attacks and see where it goes. Now, if Biden attacks their Navy and gets rid of their Navy, which it's likely will do, they'll use those A-10s Warthogs to just take out the go-fast boats. The Warthog has these heavy machine guns, 20mm machine guns that shoot about 3,500 rounds a minute. And they just shred the go-fast. And they're radar-controlled guns, so they're extremely accurate. All these missile attacks coming in from Israel. See, this has to stop. Israel's not putting up with this much longer. And by not putting up with it, it's going to go into Lebanon, and that's supposedly going to cause Iraq to come help the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and supposedly Iran's going to send soldiers and help Lebanon. But I don't think Israel's going to sit still for a caravan of 100,000 Iranian soldiers with armor, with tanks and armored personnel carriers and mobile artillery and rocket launchers and all of that stuff. They might decide to destroy it on the way into Lebanon before it gets within dangerous range of Israel. That could happen. That could be a trigger. America doesn't really want this, but I think at this point America is boxed in a corner. It's election year and Biden's got to do something. His passivity is costing him popularity at the polls. Okay. When it says send the sword after them until I have consumed them, okay, the word for consume is kala. And that means basically wipe them out. Let me see what Strong's puts it in English with end. Finish, end, perish. And I will set my throne in Elam. Now, I was thinking that means the glory of God of Israel is going to come there. It doesn't. By setting his throne, it means he's going to judge Elam. Okay? He's going to put judgment on them. And they're his enemies. So that's what that means. And because he judges in front of the throne. That's what he's saying. So he's going to judge him. And will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith Jehovah. That's the leaders, the parliament, the mayors, the industry owners and stuff like that. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith Jehovah. Now, we're in the latter days, but when Zechariah 12:10 happens, we're at the beginning of the second 70 of Daniel 9:24. Daniel 9:24 in every single Hebrew manuscript says 70 70s. Every English translation has it wrong except for one, Smith's literal translation. She has other things wrong. She self-published it. They're not going to let you. The publishing houses are not going to go against it because the churches would reject it. But in every Hebrew manuscript there is, it says 70 70s, the two 70s. The first 70 doesn't say 70 weeks at all. The first 70 was 70 years of Babylon captivity, and the next 70 is the same period of time, and it begins when Israel sees the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, and they get changed, and that's when it starts. Zechariah 12:10. So before that period is over, the captivity will return, and the supporting scripture for that I have for you. Let me get it for you. The question is, where did I put it? I gotta go through my notes. still going through my notes from this morning. Iran has made, a serious error in judgment dealing with America. They just keep thinking they can push America and push America and push America. And when a bully pushes kids in school, eventually the kid lashes out at him sometimes. And America's not anywhere near as weak as Iran might think they are. Okay, I gotta look the scripture up again. Give me a second. Isaiah 19:25. There we go. We'll go to we'll go to Isaiah 19:22. And Jehovah shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them and shall heal them. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, not Syria. And the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom Jehovah of armies shall bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt my people, and Assyria the work of my hands, and Israel my inheritance. Cyrus was the Assyrian Empire. Iran's in the Assyrian Empire, the old Assyrian Empire. And Cyrus got the Jews out of Israel and out of Babylon. Was very nice to them. So that's why Assyria is going to come back. In Egypt, when they were in the captivity in Egypt until the end, the Egyptians had them as slaves, but they weren't that ugly to them. Okay, so that's the deal. Okay, so that's in the latter days, the captivity comes back, they come back there. But in these days, they're an enemy of Jehovah, and they're an enemy of Israel. Okay, which is the same thing, because they don't want God to run the world through Israel, which is his plan, a righteous Israel serving him. Now, there's other scriptures to support things like this. Let me find where I put them. I don't know what happened to my notes this morning. So America and their allies are going to destroy Iran. Okay. Let's see what the banging is out there. What's it doing? I think one of the most likely scenarios, listening to the red alerts of Hezbollah missiles landing a moment or two ago, is that Israel will do some serious attacking in Lebanon, and maybe these 20,000 anti-Hezbollah resistance fighters will join in with Israel to help mitigate down the damages done to Lebanon. And Iran will rise up against this and try to get involved in that. It would be probably the time America shuts it down, or they just may as well leave the Middle East. They've tolerated the Houthis, they've tolerated Hamas. Hamas made a monkey of them in front of the UN Security Council. The whole world sees Hamas standing up to Biden, making him look weak and incompetent, which he is. Lebanon, the attacks on the American bases and consulates and the embassies in Iraq and Syria, and the threats of Iran that are countless, innumerable, and that major attack they did on Israel, and their interpretation of America is flawed, that America just will never do anything. Now, when the fight happens with Iran, I would say that's when the sleeper agents will be deployed in America. That, Russia, China, North Korea, and the other Muslim countries that have these sleeper agents in America will do that. They will deploy the sleeper agents, which are basically prepared to be martyrs, but they'll be quite successful. And it's fitting in with our end times timing quite well. Now, somewhere in Jeremiah 49, it says that Nebuchadnezzar is going to destroy Elam. Now, I need to show you that because it's not talking about the old Nebuchadnezzar who never did, from Babylon, who never did destroy Elam. Okay? It's not him. It never happened in the history books. So it's not that guy. Now let me find the verse where it says that. I want to do this thoroughly so you understand this and how real it is. Iran is run by the psychopathic, criminally insane. You have to understand that. And they don't have a good grasp on reality, and they're buying their own lies back from themselves about how powerful they are. I think it's up at the top of 49. I may have to look it up. I'm going to go through this, guys, until I find it. Because some people are going to find this and they don't understand that this never happened before, and they're going to say that it did because it's in the Bible, and they don't understand that there's the old times Nebuchadnezzar, and he was the guy that was the head of Babylon when they attacked Israel in they burned the temple, and the Jews came back to Babylon for that 70-year captivity, and he was, they burned everything in the temple, and they took the artifacts from the temple back to Babylon. And that was him. And he was also referred to as the king of the Chaldeans. And the word for Chaldeans is referenced in the daughter of Babylon passages in Jeremiah 50 and 51. And do not, listen hard, do not let this escape you that Jeremiah 49 is just before Jeremiah 50 and 51. And 50 and 51 is the destruction of America, the daughter of Babylon. And it says in those passages, this Nebuchadnezzar. And we'll go through that too. I'm just scrolling through here to find the passage on Nebuchadnezzar before I start looking it up. I got a better way of looking. Hold on, I might be able to look this up. Hold on. Try it a different way. I'm not finding it. In Jeremiah 50, verse 1, it says, the word that Jehovah spake against Babylon in English, and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. See, he calls America Babylon, and also the land of the Chaldeans, and Nebuchadnezzar was the king of the Chaldeans. In verse 8 in Jeremiah 50, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans and be as the he-goats before the flock. That's the next great Exodus. And the Chaldeans were a bunch of soothsayers and witches and stuff in the old Babylon by Iraq, All right, now let me try another search. think it's verse 28. Let me look. I might have found it. Concerning Kedar and concerning the kingdom of Hazor, which Nebuchadrezzar king of Babylon shall smite, thus saith Jehovah, arise, you, go up to Kedar, and spoil the men of the east. Now this is something that could have happened in the past. Their tents and their flocks shall they take away. They shall take for themselves the curtains and all their vessels and their camels, and they shall cry unto them fear on every side. Flee, get you far off, dwell deep, all you inhabitants of Hazor. For Nebuchadrezzar king of Babylon hath taken counsel against you, and hath conceived the purpose against you. Arise, get you up into the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith Jehovah, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. That could be America. Let's check something here. Yeah, this could be Saudi Arabia, Hazor. So I could see America turning against Saudi Arabia now with what they did with the dollar. Yep. The wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith Jehovah, which have neither gates nor bars, and dwelleth alone. That's Saudi Arabia, all right. Oh yeah. And it appears that Edom is in northwest Saudi Arabia, and Edom gets it. And the Saudis may start to play ball with the Houthis to let them pass through to attack Israel, which is what the Houthis want. So that can be very prophetic for our day. Okay, so Nebuchadrezzar never attacked people, okay? This is something that just never happened. Okay. So the other verse that I need to make you aware of is Jeremiah 50, verse 17. This is regarding the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, which is America. Israel is a scattered sheep, the lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria hath devoured him, and last this Nebuchadrezzar king of Babylon hath broken his bones. Now, this Nebuchadrezzar is not the old time Nebuchadrezzar. The land of the Chaldeans is America, the daughter of Babylon, and the Nebuchadrezzar in the old days was the king of the Chaldeans, and it's basically, unless it changes, it's Biden, unless Biden's taken out and someone else in there. Could it actually be Obama manipulating Biden? Maybe, but I don't think so. I would go heavily on that. I think it's Biden. Not that Obama would be innocent if he's manipulating Biden, but I don't think he's the legitimate head. So, America's going to do bad things to Israel too. They're going to do evil in our sight. America's going to do evil in our sight. So you're going to have a much worse situation with America. Okay? So that's why the Bible shows us America and other enemies of Iran are going to attack Iran. And Iran is not hurting for enemies. They have lots of enemies. And let's see what's going on in the chat. If I got questions or I've got to deal with something. Let's see. Oh, Australia. Okay, so that was what I was trying to get across today, and it looks like I got it across. And the time is very, very short now. Okay? I think the latest all the stuff's going to go down with redemption will be the very first few days in August, but it very likely could be in June too. And remember that America may just start with air attacks, and you're not going to see many signs of it. Some of these guys that check, I don't know what they call it, glass sky or something like that. They check the movement of different military aircraft around the world. They may detect movement of a bunch of American planes to Middle East bases. That would be about all you'd ever see. And if the planes shut their transponders off, you're not going to see that either. So I wouldn't be too high on that happening. Will they move aircraft carriers into the region? I'm not so sure they're going to build their attack on that because of what happened to the Dwight D. Eisenhower and that destroyer. So I don't know. It sounds like to me to be initially an air attack. It may evolve later on into naval. By later on, it would only take America a maximum of 5 days, maximum, to strip Iran of any capabilities involving the use of sophisticated radar. It'd probably be 2 days, 3 days. There wouldn't be much, believe me. There's a chance they would have Israel help them, but I doubt it. They don't want to be shown as fighting shoulder to shoulder with Israel. They don't want the American troops to become friendly with the Israeli troops and see them as allies because they're going to do bad things to Israel. So I don't think you're going to see that. Okay? The UK will definitely join in. France will probably get involved, and some other NATO countries will probably get involved. There's not a lot of great risk in fighting Iran. Okay? America will suffer from the sleeper agents, and that's their own fault. And not the people. The people are going to get out. We've covered those passages many times, and you'll come to Israel. The next great exodus, if you're a believer. If you're not a believer and you're not part of physical Israel, you're going to not get out unless you leave when the foreign workers leave. It says the foreign workers for fear of the sword will leave before the end comes. So they're not Americans, it's just they're working and God doesn't want to kill them because they're not Americans, so they get out. The churches are not pro-America with the garbage they teach. Don't believe they are. They're not pro-Israel. They're not pro-God. Admittedly, there's people in the church that are, that don't know much, they don't know better with the church, but they are, but the churches in general are not. No denomination ever set forth and said, we stand with Israel. That's never happened yet, and there's 3,500 denominations, not one said it. So I rest my case on that. So that was what I was trying to accomplish today. Please pray for me. I got some stomach cramps, and I don't feel like myself today. I don't know what it is. It could be I didn't use the red light this morning, so I'll do that when I'm done, and that's probably what it is. But please pray for me for stomach cramps and to feel better. abdominal cramps, and pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances, pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, they be happy, healthy, and whole, and pray for better videos and the peace of Yerushalayim. And I send it's Friday, so I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Oh, there was one thing I did want to tell you on spiritual warfare. I've mentioned this in the past, but it's probably been a couple of years. 2 John 9-11. Whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. Now, churches, as I've pointed out many times, don't abide in the doctrine of Christ in many, many areas, okay? Hath not God. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. Okay. For he that biddeth him Godspeed is partaker of his evil deeds. Now, what we want to look at is here is, what does God's speed mean? Okay, bid him Godspeed. That's one word in the Greek, and it's chairo. Rejoice, glad, joyful, full of joy, or it's a salutation. Okay. Full of cheer, happy, especially as a salutation. A greeting, a hail. Okay. So, what the Satan bots will do with you is, when they see you, let's say from the church, the pastor or some obvious Satan bot sees you, and you're walking at him in a mall, he's not going to say hello to you until you say hello first. Hello is a salutation or a greeting. He will do it first. Now, if you want to learn this, when you see people like that, just refuse to open your mouth and say anything to them. And they won't say anything to you, even though you're right in their face. And then you understand I'm telling you the truth. They use this scripture as a sin for you. And then that enables them to get over on you with the unclean spirits, because you're giving place to the devil. Because this is not taught. When Yeshua sent the 70 out, he told them, greet no man on the way. Didn't he? He did. Okay? This is why. You don't do it. You become a partaker in their evil deeds. Don't answer the phone. Hello? I mean, if I know who it is, I'll sometimes say hello. But you could, when you answer the phone, say, who's this? Nicely. That's not a greeting or a salutation, it's a question. Or pick up the phone and say nothing, and frequently they'll say nothing. The telemarketers, the ones that are successful, are witches, and they use witchcraft to sell crap on the phone. So when they call, they want to hear hello. I pick up the phone and tell marketers, they go, hello, hello, hello. They keep trying to get you to say hello. If you don't say hello, they hang up. They have no game with you. They'd rather go get somebody else. They're there not to have exercises in spiritual warfare. They're there to make money. So they don't have time to play games. But this is a cheap trick that the unclean spirit serving people use, and it's going to be predominantly with, you'll find this with the church witches, but you also find it in the general witches that are not involved in being false believers. In other words, they don't say they're Christians. They say they're atheists, or they say they're anything, you know. But they're witches, so they won't greet you first. Ever. They just don't do it. They wait for you to do it, and if you don't do it, they'll just walk by. I knew somebody before I was saved, was very close to this person, and then right after I became a believer, I saw this person across the street in San Francisco. It was a large street, and this person was standing there, and it's hard for me to imagine this person didn't see me. And then I walked and came right by this person, and this person never said hello to me. Was acting like didn't see me, and I'm pretty sure the person saw me. That's how they are. They won't say anything to you first. Just don't. Don't say anything to them. These church people and people that you suspect of being witches and stuff, just don't say anything to them. You'll get a good reaction out of them. They'll act extremely out of character. Because this is like a safety net for them. Not so much for them, for the unclean spirits in them. If the person doesn't have an unclean spirit, and it's just an immature witch, playing games with incantations and candle lighting and stupid things, that they're not going to know about this. The ones that are hosting unclean spirits, particularly those that are impersonating big believers, false believers, they're the ones that are going to really react radically on this. So it's up to you what you do with it. I just deliver the information, but if you just change the way you answer the phone, you'll see a difference. You see, we've been brainwashed into submitting, into breaking this scripture in our culture, which is demonically led, when they answer, hello, hello. In Israel, a lot of people just answer the phone, me saying, who's this? That's not a salutation or a greeting. You could also pick up the phone and say, this is Moshe, or better yet, Moshe here. That's not a salutation or a greeting, but the best that I could, it's almost like one, but not quite. The best is to say, who's this? That is definitely not a greeting or a salutation. It is a question. Let's look up the meaning of hello. Used as a greeting or to begin a phone conversations. See, it's a greeting. An utterance of hello, a greeting. I'm reading all the people that have definitions in Google. What is the real meaning of hello? An expression or gesture of greeting, used in greeting, in answering the telephone, or to express surprise. Okay, so you're giving them a greeting when you say hello. So the Lord reminded me that I should do that again with you, so somebody needed to hear it, or somebody's plural needed to, so it should help you with your spiritual warfare efforts. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.